Though it has been almost a month, we are finally back with Season 3, Episode 3 of Model Airport Reviews, where today I'll be reviewing 8 more of your model airports. Because these 4 airports are moving on to the grand finale, only 2 will go to the grand finale from this episode. Let's go ahead and get straight in today's episode with the first airport. The first airport I'll be reviewing is Raleigh Durham International Airport, located in Raleigh, North Carolina. And this is pretty cool because this is my home airport. First thing I notice is how detailed the terminal is. Now I can't tell if you bought this, but it looks really realistic. Another thing is how many jet bridges and aircraft he actually has. This is super cool and super realistic and makes it 10 times better. His airport lights up at nighttime, and I think that is a very cool and unique touch to his airport. My only 2 tips for you are probably adding a couple more lines and markings around the apron and adding some modeling grass, which will give it some better detail. Anyway, this is a good start in episode 3, and let's move on to the second airport in today's episode. The next airport I'll be reviewing is Plame Airport, located in the Caribbean. And I know it's hard to see and you can't really see anything, but that's because this is at nighttime. Once you see it in daytime, you'll show the real beauty of this airport. This is what I mean by the beauty of this airport. This has so much nature and so many details, and it really does fit the Caribbean theme. First, I like how he made his airport out of toothpicks, which is a very cost-friendly way and makes it super realistic. I also like the amount of carriers that he has that are mostly from America. This is another good shot with what seems to be Clipper model jet bridges, 3D printed cones, and paper ground crew services, which is all super realistic. Markings on the airport are also super realistic as well. Over here we get a shot of the runway that has great detail and smooth markings. We also get a great view of the super cool and realistic static grass that he's added to his airport. And he also has an entire beach with an ocean that is super realistic and even some people on there. And this definitely does remind me of the St. Martin, St. Bartholomew vibe. Because of this, your airport is super realistic, and I don't even have any tips for you because it is so good. Anyway, let's move on to the third airport in today's episode. Third airport I'll be reviewing is Aurora Bay Airport, located in a fictional peninsula of Aurora Bay, Michigan. First thing I noticed with this airport is that it is huge, and it seems that he's had to place it in its garage. I love how he's added a good amount of modeling grass and grass tufts to add that good nature effect, and I really like it. His runway markings are pretty good and straight, and so are the taxiway as well. I can see that he's definitely taken the time to add a good amount of markings on his apron, and I think he did a pretty good job with it. His terminal also looks pretty good, just being made out of what seems to be cardboard, and he has a good amount of models, jet bridges, and maybe some ground crew services as well. Finally, we have a great shot of what seems to be his ATC tower, a fire station, and a bunch of police cars, which is super realistic. I can also see a United hangar in the background, which is also a great and unique touch. Because of this, my only tip for you is maybe add some lights, which would add a great sense of detail. But overall, your airport is very good. Now, the remainder of the airports are made by UV Studios and Slushie Aviation, so I'm going to kind of speed run these because I have already reviewed these in the past. So beginning on that journey, we have Snow Peak Airport, located in Colorado. Now, I have actually reviewed this twice, once in every single season. Once in season 1, last season, and now this season. And it's still incredible to me. I mean, just looking at this terminal, the ground crew services, the snow, all the different types of American carriers, I can see a Lufthansa there as well. It's just mind-blowing to me and super realistic, and shows that he's put a ton of time into this. Then he added 4 photos in one, which is actually pretty cool cheat code, so he adds and gets in more photos. He has remote stands, snow, what seems to be a mountain, rental car place, and this isn't normally in a model airport, and because it is super cool. What's also extremely cool about his airport is how it lights up, and I really like the blue as it fits with all the other blue areas on the airport, like these remote stands and what seems to be some of the snow. I don't even know. It just looks super cool. Finally, a beautiful shot of the Star Alliance United 777 in the sunlight with some cones and ground workers surrounded by some grass tufts and GSC made out of paper. This is super realistic, and I also think it once again has a great chance at making the grand finale like season 1 and season number 2. Thank you for entering, and let's move on to the next airport in today's episode. Next airport I'll be reviewing is Jackson County Airport, located in Jackson, Michigan. Now, although I've reviewed this in the past, here are some cool things I really liked about this airport. Firstly, I really like how he's added a lot of American models and how he has a good amount of ground crew services. I've also noticed a great amount of details on the apron, tire marks, and taxi lines that are very straight, clean, and outlined. I also like the modeling grass to the left with all the snow, and it seems to be glued down pretty well. I also really like this photo of this FedEx aircraft with what seems to be 3D printed orange cones, air stairs, and a bus, which is very realistic. And I also like this photo of this Delta 717 on the whole short line of the runway. I also like how he's added a background, which gives it a very nice and realistic touch. Once again, his modeling grass is very realistic, and his runway markings are very straight, clean, and outlined. This airport is super realistic, and I think it once again has a great chance of moving on to the grand finale. Anyway, let's move on to the next airport. Next airport I'll be reviewing is Coral Coast International Airport, located in a fictional town of Coral Coast in Virginia, USA. Now, in season 2, when I reviewed this, I had a lot of good suggestions about this airport, and it ended up making the grand finale like his last airport. Starting here with this main terminal, I love how he's colored in his windows, which is a very cost-friendly way. I've also noticed all these other American narrow-body aircraft, tons of ground crew services, a great apron, and a very cool ATC tower. This cargo terminal and some remote stands are also super realistic, and I love once again the super straight and outlined taxi lines. I can also see some palm trees and modeling grass, which very fits the coral theme and is super realistic. I also really like this image of this Emirates 777 at a remote stand with tons of ground crew services around it, which is very cool. What seems to be a FedEx aircraft lining up on runway 16. Once again, super straight and clean runway markings, what seems to be smooth and clean modeling grass, and even some poppy lights, which is very cool and realistic. It seems to be a very nice another airport. The next airport I'll be reviewing is Atlantic Coast Airport, located in an island in the Atlantic Ocean. Now, although this airport won in season 1, he's added a few things that I think makes this airport a tiny bit better. But before we get to that, I can notice that his taxi lines, his apron, and what seems to be modeling grass with palm trees really fits the Atlantic Coast vibe. Over here we get another good shot of the airport. We can see some good straight runway markings, what seems to be lights, a lot of different aircraft from different countries, more shrubbery and trees and great modeling grass, and smooth, clean taxi lines like the last photo. It seems that he's added 4 gates with what maybe seems to be Herpa jet bridges, which is a very cool and realistic way to add jet bridges to his airport. I've also noticed that his airport is Durham, which is a very cost-friendly way to make an model airport. I'm also now noticing that his airport is fully interior, where you can see through it and it looks very realistic. It also seems that he has a good amount of ground crew services, which is nice to see on a model airport. And another great shot of his full model airport was showing the great detail that he put into this airport and showing the very well coastal vibe given here. And finally, a couple of remote stands with a Swiss A340 and a Hawaiian A330 with a ton of paper ground crew services, cones, and what seems to be even workers, which is a very cost-friendly and realistic way to get great ground crew services. So in my opinion, his airport is very realistic, even though it is Darren. And this shows that if you have a Darren airport and don't know what to build, you should use this airport as inspiration, as it has a ton of detail and will make your Darren airport look very well. The next airport I'll be reviewing is Kalamazoo International Airport, located in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I hope I pronounced it correct this time. Anyway, this airport is once again also a matte, like in season number 2, in which he did make the grand finale, but he's also added a couple of details which makes it a little bit better. For instance, how he's added a terminal here, which gives it a great realistic touch instead of just being a blank mat. He has a good amount of American regional carriers, which is a very good touch to his airport. And a couple nice nighttime shots of a FedEx 767 and an Allegiant Air A320. Overall, not the worst mat I've ever seen. You could add some more details of your own, like taxi lines and making some more details on the apron. You could add some of your own modeling grass and a little more ground crew services, but overall still not terrible. And finally, to round out Season 3, we have Slushie International Airport, located in the fictional city of Slushie in Michigan. Now, once again, I have reviewed this in Season 1 and Season number 2, but let's give it one final quick rundown and a quick recap of all the stuff that he's made to this airport. Firstly, I like how he's added styrofoam blocks for this Delta seems to be A350, which is a very cost-friendly way to store and display his aircraft. Over here, I can see a nice UPS air cargo hangar with a Pan Am 747 and a UPS 747 with what seems to be the UPS playset, which is a very cost-friendly way to get ground crew services and very cool. Then we got another great view of that terminal, which seems to be that he's bought for a decent price. I also love how he's made the apron and of course that iconic A380 gate. And it looks just super realistic, but maybe a little bit more ground crew services. And finally, a nighttime shot of his airport lighting up. He has great taxi lines, great smooth runway markings, and a good amount of modeling grass and nature. Which brings it to an overall good way to end Season 3 and a good model airport at that. Click the link in the description or on my post page to fill out your Season 3 Episode 3 Google form. Please select 5 airport. Voting ends on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.